Welcome to Daily Dose of Reality. The US national debt has officially crossed $40 trillion for the first time in history, marking a major financial milestone that has reignited fierce political debate in Washington. According to data released by the Treasury Department, total public debt outstanding hit roughly $40.05 trillion. This rapid acceleration has pushed the national debt up at an unprecedented pace, coming just 5 months after the country crossed the $39 trillion mark in March, and following $38 trillion just last October. Economists point out that this trajectory is driven by a combination of high federal baseline spending, the compounding impact of rising interest rates, and structural deficits that continue to outpace tax revenues. The human cost and economic fallout of this milestone are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Analysts highlight the fact that the federal government now spends over $1 trillion annually purely on interest payments to service the debt. This single budget line item now eclipses major discretionary spending areas, including traditional funding for national defense and key domestic programs. Independent watchdogs and fiscal groups like the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget warn that this massive borrowing cycle forces the government to compete with private capital, pushing up borrowing costs for everyday Americans trying to buy homes, secure car loans, or manage credit card debt. In response to these milestones, the political blame game is in full swing. Vice President J.D. Vance and the current administration have pushed back sharply against critics, placing the responsibility squarely on the previous administration under Joe Biden. They point to high-ticket legislative outlays, expansive clean energy subsidies, and massive pandemic-era recovery spending packages passed in prior years as the primary accelerants that pushed the debt past the threshold. On the other side of the aisle, critics argue that recent tax policies and a failure to rein in entitlement spending have only exacerbated the gap. Furthermore, independent fiscal analysts emphasize that responsibility for the multi-trillion-dollar debt accumulation does not rest with a single party. Borrowing has surged aggressively across multiple administrations over the last decade, doubling through both Republican and Democratic terms as political gridlock prevented any meaningful bipartisan budget reform. With interest payments continuing to climb and the federal debt ceiling looming on the horizon for next year, pressure is mounting on Congress and the Treasury to find a sustainable fiscal fix before servicing the debt begins to crowd out all other government functions. What do you think is the main driver of this debt crisis? Drop a comment below. Hit like and subscribe for more daily updates.